My boyfriend didn't want to pay $200 to save my life. I went to a bar with my boyfriend and his friends a while ago, and it was supposed to be a fun night out. We were dancing, singing, and having a great time. However, things took a frightening turn when I suddenly started feeling extremely unsteady, lost touch with my body, and became confused and scared. It's a bit of a blur, but I remember feeling an unusual sense of calm. Most of what happened that night is a blank in my memory. My boyfriend recounted the events for me. I had lost consciousness, and when I briefly opened my eyes, he could see the fear in them. He was told to get a taxi and rush me to the emergency room. We got into the taxi. But during the ride, the driver demanded an extra $200 if I were to throw up. My boyfriend refused, stopped the taxi, and considered walking to the emergency room, even though I was unconscious, as he didn't know what was happening or if my life was in danger. Fortunately, the police happened to be nearby and noticed me lying on the ground. They intervened, recognized the seriousness of the situation, and rushed us to the emergency room with lights flashing. It was a critical moment, and their timely assistance was invaluable. It turned out that I had been drugged that night. The situation took a further unpleasant turn when my boyfriend insisted I walk with shaky legs from the emergency room the next day. A walk that should have taken 20 minutes but ended up taking 2 hours. He even brought up the idea that maybe he had been drugged too, even though he felt fine that night. Then, he started talking about the $40 taxi fare and seemed to want me to reimburse him. He repeatedly mentioned the $40 fare and how outrageous it was, despite it being the usual price in our area. To make matters worse, the following weekend, I had to spend time with his friends, including people I didn't know. They discussed that night and even made some jokes about me being drugged, which made me feel awful. Additionally, there were instances when I felt unsafe and mentioned that someone was following me, but my boyfriend seemed to ignore my concerns. While he never hesitated to accompany me when I walked around town at night, he was less protective when it came to female friends. Apart from these concerns, my boyfriend is generally a kind person who doesn't want to harm anyone. However, I can't help but wonder if these behaviors and attitudes are normal in a relationship. I fear I might be overreacting, but it's important to consider how these actions affect my well-being and whether this relationship is worth pursuing, especially since most of this account is based on my boyfriend's perspective, as I have little memory of that night.